So welcome to American TESOL Presents Free Friday Webinars. I'm your hostess, Shelly Sanchez-Terrell. We have been here for 3 years, every Fridays, a free live webinar. Now we have the free technology certification by American TESOL, and this is only for American TESOL members, but anyone can attend these live free Friday webinars, and you can get the free recordings, and you can also invite friends and get a certificate of attendance, even if you're not American TESOL, a part of American TESOL. So we will talk a little about the tech course, so that way you can understand some of the assignments in case you're watching for that. So just stay tuned and we'll talk about that. So this is actually the first one in the series, and we're going to be talking about survival tips for teaching with technology, or the basics of teaching with technology, some good resources, places for you to begin, what to do when something goes wrong, and you can join us every single Friday. It's really important that we learn to integrate technology. The question is no longer whether or not we use technology, because we have actually been using technology for many years. Things develop and change in the classroom all the time. And as a teacher, one of the best attributes for being a really good teacher is to have flexibility and the ability to adapt, because situations change all the time, as you know, in the classroom. Some days there may be a fire drill, some days they might have an IWB and say, here, you have to use this. Sometimes they give you a different textbook. Sometimes they add students in the middle of your when you've already started the curriculum and lessons. So life as a teacher is very hectic. There is never going to be a time when things do not change. So it's good to get frustrated. Sometimes I know that happens, but don't worry. This is what these webinars are hoping to help you do. If you've looked at this particular slide, then you probably have seen some things that the way that technology now, the way we use mobile devices especially, how all of these technologies have impacted your life in a very big way. So 10 years ago, you never, even 15 years ago, you didn't take selfies. You didn't update your status necessarily. You didn't like something. You didn't tag someone. Tag someone used to be we used to tag someone, like playing a game, so we still have the tag game. You didn't LOL. You didn't use little smiley faces or stickers. You didn't have these awesome tools where you could just take a wonderful video and use filters, or take Instagram pics and make it look very professional. You didn't Snapchat, you didn't WhatsApp, Kik. You didn't do any of that, but now you do. And life is very different. And why? Because our digital behavior influences our rituals. It has changed our language. Cray, LOL, different things, YOLO, all of these are now part of the Oxford Dictionary. Selfie, subtweet, all of these words now, and you may not be familiar with them, but they are definitely part of our dictionary now. And it's something as English language teachers and as teachers that we should know. We need to understand, especially if the academic world has accepted this as knowledge and as language, then it is something that we definitely have to be in tune with. So these webinars are a great way to get you doing that in 30 minutes. I've spent hours and years researching this, so I get it to you the best way that I can. I'm coming to you from Brooklyn. Hi, Peggy George. I always like to see Peggy George here. And don't worry that you're late. We just got started, and you can always catch the free recording. I'll share that with you at the end. In the future, I'll be coming to you from Venezuela. I just want to let you know that, because I'm hoping the internet is very strong. So today I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and then for the next few weeks, Venezuela. It's impacted our rituals, our customs, and that's one of the great things, telling you that I'm here from Venezuela. I can teach you from everywhere around the world. And actually, for the last 3 years, we've been doing that. It's been over at least 15 countries that I've done this with you, so thank you for joining us. It's really exciting to be able to have that kind of technology, to be able to, anywhere, anyone in the world, even your students, they are learning language with their digital devices. They can take them everywhere. When I was teaching in refugees in Greece, I was getting my CELTA, and even my refugees who didn't necessarily have places that they would stay at night, and they would come in the same clothes, very, very poor. But the refugees did have cell phones, because cell phones are now a staple of our society, and they're a great way to connect your users with whatever you're learning. So I want to go ahead and give you a heads up about some of the different types of sites out there and how you can really get your students to be able to hone into that. And to, if you teach online, or if you teach a course and you get paid for that course, it really benefits you if you are on the top of technology, if you use these tools, because a lot of times your students will be more engaged. And if they're more engaged, that means less classroom management. It means that a lot of your students are going to be so excited, and they're going to give you a lot less hassle when you ask them to do things. So it's really important that we start looking at the potential of this technology, not how much it frustrates us, because yeah, it's very frustrating to have to do this. We know that, and yes, there is definitely empathy for that, but it's time that we take that and get a different attitude. It's time we say, okay, what is the potential? How can I make this more engaging so my students want to learn with me, want to learn English, and also so they tell other parents and other people, I want to sign up for that course. So it could actually be very profitable for you as well. Or it makes your learning institute look really good. So your learning institute and your administrators will be happy with you. So that's always a good thing as well. I wrote 2 books in which I'm basing this. You can check them out later. They're Learning to Go. And then also the 30 Gallops Challenge for Teachers. It talks about the ideas I'm going to share with you today. So let's get on to these tips. Are you ready for these tips? And if you have any resources, please let me know. And also in the chat box while you're talking and while you're there, you can definitely let us know what it is that you are, where you're from, and what you are teaching. And then if you have any questions, that'll help me as well. So one of the tips is to discover what tools your students currently use. You can always ask them, but being the nice teacher that I am, an instructor, I actually made a Google form for you. So you can find all of these bookmarks, including this free Google form, to kind of help you out and to get you started, so that way you can make your own form as well. You can find all that information here. So at the Shelley Terrell site, and it's where you have to actually adapt it. So you have to make a copy, and then you can adapt it. So you can do this survey, but I just get you started so you can send this. Now, the great thing is, if you use a Google form, your students, anybody can actually answer this. They don't even have to be part of Google. It's just a survey tool. So I've already started a template for you that you can just copy and paste. Isn't that pretty exciting? So it saves you time. And throughout this technology course, that's what I want to do, is I want to save you some time, because I know that your lives are very busy, and I've already done this, so might as well share it with you. Oh, that's exciting, Shannon. She teaches preschool. I've taught from ages 2 years old all the way to 80 years old. So I've definitely used technology with all of those ages and older. So technology is something that you definitely can use with even very, very young learners. So it's exciting to have different types of age groups here. When you're teaching with technology, you've already gone through a lot. So I want you to imagine right now, and you can already, oh, that's a good question. I'm going to ask, how do you copy the Google Doc? Okay, so to copy the Google Doc, you actually do have to be on Google Docs, okay? So you can edit this form. I'm going to go ahead and give you the editing. And you have to have a Google account. It's free, by the way. And then you can go and then you can go to File. You always go to File at the top and go to click on Make a Copy. And when you do that, then that's how you'll be able to do that. The other thing that you want to do is I want you to think about, and you can even type this inside the chat box, is all the types of different technologies that you've already gone through. And here are a few. Remember when they invented flip cameras, when they invented digital cameras, and this was, when they had beepers, when you had to go from, maybe you were there when they had mechanical pencils. I remember when I got my first mechanical pencils or the different color things. Those were really exciting for me. When you have cell phones, you have microphones and computers, and from computers to laptops, to mobile devices, to Chromebooks, to iPads. And I have that as well, actually. I have a lot of these devices because I like to play with them. It's one of the best ways. So I have my iPad, but that's one of the best ways that you can learn about topics is to go ahead. Yes, we do have this video available after, so you can always go back and review it. So you've been through all of these. Remember when we had scanners and copy machines and printers, and you have your overhead projectors. So you've been through a lot of these different tools. Don't focus on the tool. Focus on the learning. So every time they give you a different type of device, they say you need to teach with IWBs, interactive whiteboards. You need to teach online. You need to teach with mobile devices, Chromebooks, anything. Don't worry about it. Just focus on the pedagogy. Focus on things that you've already done that you know really work already, okay? So pedagogy is the driver. Technology is what makes it easier and quicker and our lives better, well, depending on the technology, that is, to be able to do this. So what is some of the pedagogy? What are some good instructional practices? Well, some good ones are play, getting students play with the technology. So it's not so much that they're always consuming the technology, that they're always playing games or taking quizzes or watching a video, but that they actually get to do something with it. They get to walk around, they get to take pictures like an I Spy, they get to go on scavenger hunts and take pictures, and they can review vocabulary that way as well. Taking pictures, Katie says that she doesn't have Wi-Fi. I've been in a lot of situations. I've been to over 26 countries. This year I'll be having 30. And what I can do is I get my students to create videos. And a lot of the students I've been Slovenia, Croatia, and they don't have Wi-Fi, internet necessarily when they're doing these projects, but they can always take a video and they can always do these projects, and then they can upload them if you have something like the USB cord. So if you have something like a flash drive or something like that, as long as and usually you want them to take whatever it is on their phone. And remember that they can do it through also Bluetooth, so they can always send things that way. And that's a lot of the ways that I have my students. They work in groups and they send it that way. So if you don't have broadband or anything like that, they can still use their phones or digital cameras to make projects. And remember, keep them short. You want to keep them short because then you're going to have too much time spent on uploading those. So those are some good pointers for if you're teaching with technology. To get them to experiment. So there's a lot of different apps out there. If you download an app, you don't need the internet afterwards. You need it just for the, in a lot of apps will let you do that. And they'll let you have, you don't need, a lot of apps will let you create with them. For example, like Educreations, it's a free way to get 9-minute videos, but it has an interactive whiteboard, and you can add images, and you can hear your students. They can do a screencast, and they can even edit that video, and that will work without an internet connection. But if they're going to turn it into you, they'll need that internet connection. You can get them. I get my students to collaborate. When I'm working with language learners, the best way to make sure that they're going to speak in English and speak to each other is get them into different groups. If they do pair work and group work in small groups, I recommend of 3 and 4. then they're able, and especially if they're from different countries, then they have to speak in English. They have to coordinate, collaborate, and they come up with the English themselves. So, and they can help each other, because you trying to manage the whole class is going to be very, very difficult. It's good to get them to explore, to create different things. Pedagogy is one of the, and I'll share more of that with you. So what does that look like? What are some real tasks that you can do? Well, you can do digital posters, you can do mind maps with digital, there's web tools. There's actually thousands of free web tools and apps, mobile apps that you can use. You have so many choices to create comics, to create digital comics, podcasts. You can make small short videos, commercials, dramas, silent films. You can create digital stories. You can create digital books. You can do research online and have research papers. You can have e-portfolios, digital portfolios, tutorials, mind maps, blogs, scavenger. In fact, they can even create their own games. They can play games to learn things. One of the great things about American TESOL is we have over 200 presentations. We actually have a webinar for each of the things that we talk about. So if you're trying to do something like a digital poster, you want them to make a poster, then there's a webinar for that. And actually that can kind of be our saying, because with over 200 presentations, we pretty much have a webinar for everything. One of the best, there's different types of pedagogy that comes with digital learning. One of them is co-learning and pedagogy. Now, part of the ESL tech course, your tech certification, is to go ahead and have where you learn about different types of topics. And so you have readings and materials we want you to review. One of the ones is a free book. It's called Pedagogy.org. And it's part of digital pedagogy. It's one of the best ones. It's by Howard Rheingold, who has produced over 10 different books. He talks about digital literacy, and he's just an extremely smart guy. One of the great things is this book, which is part of this first reading material, is free. So you can download it for free online and have it for free, because, of course, we want to share with you free materials, okay? So pedagogy.org, what it does is it teaches you how to get your students to help you shape the curriculum. So it isn't necessarily that you're giving them all the materials, but they're taking the learning. Let's say you're studying animals, okay? And you're talking about the different types of animals, herbivores, carnivores, or even reptiles, or even amphibians. Your students go into the world, the digital world, and they find different types of resources to add to the curriculum, and they learn from each other. So they can post something, for example, maybe they post an animal they see outside, and then they can get their peers to talk about what kind of animal is it, and then you have a rich discussion, and they're learning from each other. So you can do that for someone that is even very young learner that's like 4 years old, can take a picture from their backyard and say, what is this bug? What is this insect? And other students can go and they can look it up in a book. They can look it up they can Google it. Now you have a Google image search. So you get everybody to come and contribute. Let's say they find a good video of this bug. They find out what it is. They can add that to the course material. So you're learning with your students as well. Another type of digital pedagogy out there is the SMAR, is considered to be one of the top ones that a lot of people follow. So they follow this form a lot. And it's something that that you can do as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share with you that site as well. So you can go ahead and research that. So that's another particular resource that you can research. And then one of them is also the Slideshares by Timbuktu. He's one of, which is Steve Wheeler. He's one of the people that I follow on Twitter, on Facebook, on Google+, and he is extremely smart. He knows a lot about using technology in good ways. So it's definitely something that I think is really good to these are your reading materials that I would like you to pick and choose and browse through. There's also been a lot on Digital Bloom. So a really good website out there and blog that I recommend. And these are going to be some other resources. And remember, you can find all of this as Peggy has put out on the ShellyTarot.com webinars. If you keep scrolling, you're going to find all of these links all in one place. So you have Digital Blooms by Kelly Tankley. And it's going to show you how to do it's going to show you tools for applying, tools for creating, evaluating. So for anything that you want to meet an objective for. So now let's get to your task. What is going to be your task? Well, one of your tasks this week, your first assignment, is to find the right tool and app for your students. So think of a lesson or a project that you want your students to do. So for example, let's say that you do a poster project. Let's say that they actually take a post, and this isn't a good idea, but let's say this was a poster board, okay? Let's say there's a poster board, and your students normally do an animal project, and they put out the poster, and they give it to you, and they turn it in. Well, your students, let's talk about them taking this huge poster, and they have to travel with it to your class, and sometimes it gets bent. Right now, it's snowing in New York, so they could definitely get it destroyed. Let's say they're riding the bus. It's very difficult to carry this big poster and put in the bus. So you can use tools so they can have a digital poster. This way, they just turn it into you for example, they can turn it into you online. You can have them turn it into you by emailing it to you, by a Dropbox, by a course, like we have the ELT course. They could use something like a hard drive or flash disk to go ahead and turn it into you too. So there are different ways to do that. How do you find that right tool? Well, your assignment is two search engines. These are basically like Google search for ed tools for teachers, and they actually are run by teachers. Teachers Go, and you can do a search. You just click on. You go to edshelf.com is the one that I think is the best. You just click on this. You enter your criteria. You might say posters. You say your age group, let's say preschool. One of you said that they had preschool. And then what you do is you say free. You can say if you're using Android, if you're using a website. You can say if you're using different types of things. So this is what it's talking about. It's talking about, and then you can find a list. It'll show you a list of the tools if you want to pay, if you want free tools. So that's what your first assignment is. It's basically to go to the site, edshelf.com, and to enter the criteria of what you want, the ages of your learners, see what you find. And all of these will tell you, they will give you reviews from teachers as well. So it's one of the most useful sites. Another site that does that, it's not as well, is Graphiteorg. Now, remember, we give you a lot of information because you can always go back and you can review this. So take what you can now. Take the bits and pieces that really come out to you, that stand out, okay? It's sort of like a buffet. You know when you have a plate of food, and in your food, you can't eat everything, right? Because then you're going to go ahead and you're going to have a full stomach, and you don't want to do that. So take the 2 or 3 things, and then you can always come back and watch the recording and find out more and explore the book marks as well. So graphite.org is the other one that does that. Another thing that we're doing that I would recommend is to add a technology component to your current lessons or projects, okay? So that's one of the easiest ways to really integrate technology. So we were talking about digital posters. So here are a bunch of different free sites where you can make a digital poster. There's Bunsy, one of my favorite tools. There's TAC. TAC you don't even have to register for. There's Pic Collage. You can even make a digital poster with videos on your mobile device. So there's definitely tons of free resources out there. Here's another site that gives you tons of ideas. So let's say you find the tool, you love the tool like VoiceThread, or you love something like Slideshare or digital poster. then one of the things that you can do is you can go to this site, Ideas to Inspire, and you can find that tool. Like here is VoiceThread, and teachers all over the world gather. You can even add to these, and they create ideas on how to teach with that tool. Sometimes the technology is going to fail you, and you need a backup plan. Because if you don't have a backup plan, and if you don't do some of these things, then sometimes we waste that instruction time. So what happens is that you might, and remember, every time your students go there, either, they pay the taxes or the parents pay for them to be there. So if you get frustrated with the technology and you happen to be there and you say, I'm sorry, somebody is paying for your time. So it's important that you don't waste your time apologizing. Yes, apologize really quick, but you really do have to continue and you have to go on with the teaching. So how do we make sure that our technology works? Well, the first thing is to check the technology right before the lesson. So make sure it works. Make sure that you go in here as soon as 15 minutes, 30 minutes, make sure the internet connection works. Make sure that whatever program you're using works. Make sure that, for example, the iPad, make sure they're not locked. Make sure they have been cleaned. If other people are using it before, then make sure they didn't leave anything bad on there. So there's a lot of things you can check beforehand. When it doesn't work, then these are some of the things that really have helped me since 1994 with integrating technology. Did you shut it down? Okay, so that's one of the first things that I do. Even my MacBook, even all my iPad and all of these technologies, this still seems to work very well, is that you have to shut it down, you unplug it, you reboot. You can have somebody else Google the problem if you're not connected to the internet. Somebody's connected to the internet. Ask for help or send your students for help. Remember, the idea is you have to continue the instruction. So, sorry, my dog walker was in the back. My sister's dog walkers. Tip, have the students learn the tools, then offer tech support. So if you have a list of, let's say you find all of you taking this technology course, and then you say, wow, I really love this tool. Shelly taught me this tool. It's a great comic tool. So you have a list of tools you want to use. List of free tools, right? Well, when you go in, have each of your students give them some of the tools. You can have more than one. I recommend two. Give them a couple of tools. Tell them your job, your assignment is to learn these tools, make a screen tutorial, a video tutorial, and to really then whenever we do an assignment or a task or a project with that tool, like Animoto or VoiceThread or Educreations or any of these, then those students can help you help the other students use that tool. They can even help you. So it gives you backup and support. Make sure you have a backup plan in some things. Okay, so if they're making, for example, let's say they're doing a mind map. And you can do a mind map with a lot of tools like Popplet and stuff. Well, what's the easiest backup plan you could do if you can't get on Popplet? Let's say Popplet is backing up and everything like that. What is one of the things you can do? Well, I'm going to show you. Okay, so if you cannot use Popplet, that's okay, because what you can do is you can create a mind map with pen and paper. So there's a lot of things that you can simply do with pen and paper if you have your students do it. There's a lot of times if you're the only one connected to the internet and the rest of the students aren't, well, you can always show it on a big projector, and on the projector they can go ahead and they can copy the things from you, and they can work together in groups, and they can share materials. Here are some websites that talk about ways to use computer with no internet connection in the classroom. This is a good teacher that I know in Israel. She works with deaf students. Another great tip is to make sure to get connected. All of you are part of the course. You can meet each other. You can learn from each other. Many of you here have talked about other students you know, so you can get connected. Teachers are everywhere. There's over 1 million teachers on online networks. I'm often on Twitter. I'm on pretty much Twitter, Google+, Voxer, Instagram, Facebook, every single day. YouTube, Pinterest, all of these, they have teachers on them that share resources, and they're free and they're awesome and they're amazing. So you can get a lot of help from them. It's important that we get parents as part of the equation. We're actually going to be talking about that later. So you can find, remember, a lot of these you can find, you can download the slides and you can have them, but just go to shellyterrell.com /webinars, and that's where you're going to find all of this information. So these are going to be other webinars. It's important you get your parents to sign a responsible use policy. It looks like this. It tells the parents how you're going to keep students safe. It gives the students consequences for not following different rules, like making sure they post proper things on, do have proper pictures, use proper language, and different things that you want them to follow. The student signs it, the parent signs it, and then it helps you legally in case anything arises. Cover digital literacy and citizenship daily. So it's a habit. It doesn't have to be an extra part of the curriculum. It's just part of the curriculum. Every time your students post online, every time they go on, every single day, it's important to ask them this question. How will this act impact society? So everything you like on Facebook, everything you retweet, everything you picture you share on Instagram, that's sharing a value, that's spreading news, information, values, morals online, and you impact a society. So for example, one person invented the selfie, and now it's viral because we kept spreading it. We liked it, we commented, and we reshared it. So it's important that our students understand that. A lot of times they're too obsessed with the likes now, and they'll do anything for them. They might be mean, they might do so I ask my students, are you polluting? Are you spreading digital pollution? And that's something important. And we will talk about citizenship later. We'll go in more details. So it's important that you get your students to think about every single digital act they do. And even us, it's important we think about our own and reflect on it. How do you manage all this? Well, a few quick tips before we go, because we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Learning stations, and there's different resources for that you can find on the bookmarks that give you details. Group work. That way you can facilitate. So you notice how this gentleman is going around and facilitating or walking around and learning with the students. If you have activity logs, that way your students can make sure they're staying in task. If you're doing learning stations, they just simply go to that station and they write the time, the date, the name, and this way you have a log. So when they go back on the computer and they say, oh, this happened, you can say, oh, Jenny at 8 o'clock was the student that was there, and this is what she said she did. But this keeps track, so it gives you a backup, okay? Calendars are very important. This is how you can see the first day, Mondays, I always, and this is different for different countries, but if you have here and you get it to come inside, then you'll have them start on a Monday. You can give them who's the station leader, what is the project. If you do it with ThemeLink, you can actually put links to all of it. ThemeLink is a great way to make an interactive calendar. You can tell them when the project is due, when tests are due. You can tell them who are different leaders for different packs. The other thing is also you can have the cup system as well. You can have where they have a red, yellow, blue cup. Depending what cup they put at the top when they do group work is when they're going to have where they can have that tells you where they're at. So when you're walking around the classroom, if it's yellow, then they don't need any help. Then you don't have to waste your time going there. And you can help someone, for example, who has red. If you wear a scarf around your neck, then that means that your students know that you're busy with somebody else. And then they can know to ask you later. You can give digital badges. And then finally, you make sure, and I think this is one of the most important, make it fun. This is me. And this is a little girl that I was teaching in Turkey. But when all the countries I've been to, that's one of the things I really focus on. Because at the end of the day, if your students can say, learning with you, teacher, is fun, then you did a great job. Because so many times learners walk out the classroom every day, millions of classrooms around the world, and they say, ugh, I hate learning. Learning is boring. So if you can get your students to really enjoy learning, to really care about it, then you have done an awesome job, okay? So you can get them to play with this digital sandbox. I talk about that in different resources as well, where they can just choose what tool they want. They don't have to just use one tool, they get to choose. So before we go, just to let you know, something that's really important to leave you with. Technology, it's always changing. It's a tool. The rest of your life, you're going to get different technological advances, and your administrators are going to say, you got to teach with them. You got to teach with them. And a lot of times they're not going to give you the training. I know that's not very fair, but that's life as a teacher. So when it comes to technology, the best, most effective way that students are going to be able to make a real difference in the world, are going to be able to be in careers, have good ethics and values, is because of you, because you're the one they look up to. You're the one who's their instructor. So, as Bill Gates says, in terms of getting them to work together and motivating them, you, the teacher, are the most important. So, good luck with your tasks this week. We will see you next week. If you need any help or anything like that, of course, you can reach me in all the social networks, and you can get a copy of the video. You can download the slides and everything else, and we will see you next week. And thank you so much. So, I'm going to end the recording so you can have